ready for a hot glass show. So my name's Lewis. This is Carl. Carl is going to make a beautiful piece. He said he's going to make a picture, but he's going to make it with little bubble patterns all over it, right? Which is it's really cool to see how we do this. So I don't know if we have a piece here with the bubbles on it, do we, Carl? Somewhere? I don't think we do. Well, tomorrow we will. So he dipped into the furnace and wound that glass on, and he's just shaping this up a little bit. He's using the table to kind of shape it up and to cool the glass off. And you can see how it's just kind of not moving around as much each time he comes off the table. It's just chilling up the sides. Now watch closely. You're going to see a bubble appear in there. You guys see that bubble? So that's our glass blowing demonstration. So he's going to go back, blow this in a mold in just a second. So he has that little bubble in there. He's going to come over to his little molds on the stage and blow in and put texture on the surface. So I'm going to pick up a bigger one of those. Maybe you can see inside it. Can you see all the little indentations? Looks a little bit like an inside-out pineapple, right? It's got little pyramids in there. So when he blew in that, it put all those little indentations into the bubble. He's going to leave them there, cool it down. When he dips into the furnace, those indentations will trap bubbles, and they'll all be in a nice, even pattern, just like this is. So by cooling it down to 1,000 degrees, the glass is actually solid. If Carl tapped on that, you would hear it kind of clonking. Just sound like tapping. So it's going to dip in. So inside here is a big crucible, and it's just filled with glass. So you can kind of see all these little indentations, the little bubble spots. And as he starts to blow this out, you'll be able to see them better. So he's using that wooden spoon. That wooden spoon's saturated in moisture, and he's using that to distribute that fresh layer of glass over it evenly. He's just going to blow a little bit at a time, start to expand that out. So we use a lot of different tools to shape with. This one's one of my favorites, and it's actually our local newspaper. So it's just newspaper saturated in moisture, but it's very, very flexible. If you've wet newspaper before and feel how you can move it around, you can see the top side that's smoking and steaming, but there's not really any heat. I can't hardly feel anything on the bottom side. So it's about 8 or 9 sheets of newspaper folded up, soak it in water. We kind of burn it in a little bit, and you can see how I put my hand under here and spread it, so I can actually kind of move my fingers and hand and use that to shape around the vessel. So now you can see those rows of bubbles going down that piece. And Carl's just working his way down that, expanding out that extra glass that's on the end of that. Well, welcome. So you're able to see inside the furnace when he's reheating. And there's actually a window on the back side of the furnace, and has a little bit of glass, little cube of glass, like a little window like this. It's like about 12 millimeter thick, half-inch thick. that window is made out of a special glass that doesn't really start to go soft until about 2300 degrees. And they actually melted at around 3000 degrees Fahrenheit, like 1450 or so centigrade. So you can start to see those bubbles on that, all those little layers of bubbles that he put on there. So as he blows it out, and they kind of get squished between the layer, they tend to flatten out to like a little round. So this picture he's going to make, the bottom of the picture is actually closest to me. And you can see he still has some extra glass here. He's going to work on expanding that out some more in a minute, just by blowing through that, making it a little bit bigger. See that? Just stretching that little bit out. When he's ready, we might put a little glass on the bottom, or he might just flatten the bottom off, and then we're going to turn it around. So Carl said he's ready for me to make what's called a pontil. So I'm going to take a little glass on the end of this pipe, and that little bit of glass, we're going to kind of use it like a glue, right? We want to join this pipe onto the bottom of that piece. So I'm going to cool this down and shape it. And I'm going to cool it down so when we join it on, it's actually not a permanent connection. We can break it free later. So if I cool it down to about 1300, right, at that temperature, it won't really make a permanent connection. So I'm just going to get it cooled off for him, bring it over. He's going to touch this on the bottom of that. And then he's going to break it free up at the top. So now he's going back to heat. He can start to work on the other end of this. So he said he's going to heat this up and trim around the front of it a little bit. So he's actually going to take a pair of shears. He's got them set up here. Got a pair of shears. You see they have a curved blade. They don't actually shut all the way, so there's a little gap. So if you've ever cut a piece of paper with a pair of shears and you leave those little points because you kind of go like that, you miss. This helps you not do that because it leaves the shears engaged all the way, right? But we still end up doing it, but it's a good idea. So we have a couple of different types of shears we use for glass. There's one like that, which looks very common, and this one we call a diamond shear. We call it a diamond shear because it has a diamond-shaped blade, right? So when you cut soft material, if you cut it with a straight shear, it's going to squish out and make a long cut, right? But if you want to cut like a handle and you don't want a big, long, squishy cut on it, you just want it cut off like the end of your finger, just finishing right there. This works great because it squeezes the glass down and cuts it right there, right? So that's the reason for this shear. So Carl just tweezed that out a little bit. He's just going to go back in with those shears. Are they slipping, Carl?
They are.
Just heat for a second and I'll run some glass on. So sometimes the tweezers and the shears get wax on them because we use beeswax on the other tool to make the glass slip. So if I get these hot, you can see the smoke start to come off. It burns that beeswax off, and then he's able to cut.
Can I start filming?
Yep.
Stop filming.
So